Live, local, now. This is WIS News 10.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Emily Scarlett. Preparing for landfall after causing massive destruction throughout the Caribbean. Hurricane Irma is just hours away from hitting the U.S. Irma's track is becoming more and more clear, and the threat of potential impacts here at home remain this evening. We've got team coverage following all angles of Irma tonight. Our Mike DeSuma is live at the South Carolina Emergency Management Division with more on what state leaders are doing to prepare for the storm. But first, our First Alert weather team has the latest on Irma's track.
And Emily, we're closely watching the very latest with Irma right now. I'm joined by meteorologist Vaughn Gaskin. And Vaughn, this is one of those storms that we have been talking about for days and days on end, and the track keeps changing.
It keeps changing. It keeps moving to the west, and that, of course, changes the impacts that it'll have on everyone across the southeast.
You got that right. So let's talk about the latest information about Irma right now. We just have the 5 o'clock update, 6 o'clock update. How about that from the National Hurricane Center? The updates are getting hourly as the storm continues to move a little closer to the U.S. So look at it. Check it out. Sustained was 125 miles an hour, moving to the west-northwest around 9 miles an hour. This is a Category 3 storm as we speak. Check out the rain bands lashing areas in South Florida right now. And the center of the storm has been hugging the coast of Cuba just about all day long. We are waiting for this storm to continue moving to the north, and it will likely, how about this, move to the north just a bit, making landfall somewhere near Key West as we head through late tonight, early tomorrow morning as a Category 4 storm, then making another landfall somewhere there between Fort Myers and Tampa, Florida, as a Category 4, then 3 storm here, kind of hugging the west side of the peninsula of Florida. And you'll also notice that as it moves over land, it will start to downgrade and weaken just a bit more. Checking out the cone of uncertainty. You're also going to notice that we are out of the cone of uncertainty here in South Carolina. You might think, hey, this is great news for us. Here's the deal. As this storm continues moving to the north, we're still going to be on that northeast side of the storm, the worst side of the storm, meaning we will likely see some tornadoes. That could be isolated tornadoes in the area. Talk about some heavy rainfall, and we're likely going to feel some tropical storm force wind gusts here as we head through it starting maybe late tomorrow night into the day on Monday. Now, here's what's happening with some of the forecast models. Pretty consistent, pretty compact there, taking the storm to the north, and you'll notice it starts to move it, at least the center of the storm, away from us. But here's the deal, though. You're going to start noticing some effects from it. I want to show you the European model, pretty consistent with the official track from the Hurricane Center, hugging the coast here. But you'll notice as the storm starts to weaken just a bit, we're still on that right side of the storm. Not a really good place to be. So even though we're outside of the cone, we're still in an unfavorable environment there for some severe weather here in our area, mainly through the day on Monday night, and then we'll start seeing things rolling out as we go through our Tuesday, but starting off with a little heavy rain. I want to show you the GFS model very quickly, and again, it's going to pretty much show much of the same story. Brings the storm just a little bit closer to the Palmetto State, but we're still in a bad area of the storm as you look at the forecast there through at least Tuesday morning. So now we have meteorologist Vaughn Gaskin. She is standing by to tell us some of the specific details we might see here in the Palmetto State over the next couple of days. Vaughn?
Well, that's right. Even though we're out of that cone of uncertainty, we're still going to see impacts. Let's talk about the wind impact first. Well, the first thing that you will certainly notice for us is that it will be breezy through the course of the day tomorrow. Now, you have to be mindful of the fact that we already have a lake wind advisory that has already been put into place. Now, we're going to watch as the rain starts to move up, mainly from the south first. It's also going to start to kick in with wind speeds going up to about 27 miles per hour as soon as Monday morning at 6 o'clock. Now, the rain will continuously move from the south to the north, and look at that, 33 mile per hour winds expected in Aiken and 22 in Columbia by Monday at about 10:30. As we continue to see the waves of rain moving through, you're also looking at a Category 1 hurricane that's now moving through Georgia. That's giving off 39 mile per hour winds in areas. Now, this is really going to be closer to the CSRA, which is the Central Savannah River area, but still, it's going to be close enough for us here in the Midlands to certainly pay attention. 34 mile per hour winds expected down near Hilton Head. And then things start to improve just a bit for us. By the time we get into Monday, by 5 o'clock, we start to see some drying and some breaking up of some of this, but we still have to wait until the storm makes that turn before we see all of the moisture lifting out of the Palmetto State. So it will take a while before this all begins to take shape and before we see some improvements. I do believe we're going to see some improvements late in the day on Tuesday. So this won't be an all-day thing on Tuesday. All of your Monday, of course, will be encompassed with rain and wind, and you need to stay alert. You need to be watching things going on around your houses if you're going to be hunkered down. Of course, there's still a lot more to talk about, and there could be some changes. Of course, we'll continue to update you and give you a little more information coming up.
Thanks for that breakdown, Vaughn and Diminis. We're also keeping an eye on our roadways this evening as thousands in Florida, Georgia, and in the low country of our state evacuate. South Carolina DOT says traffic has been heavier on I-95 northbound to I-226, but that everywhere else is flowing pretty normally. Despite the changing forecast on Irma, South Carolina emergency officials are asking state residents to remain cautious. They say the storm still has the potential to bring significant impacts to our state on Monday. That was part of the latest update coming from Governor Henry McMaster. Our Mike DeSuma is live at the State Emergency Operations Center in West Columbia with more. Mike?
Good afternoon, Emily. And of course, the governor and many other state officials hitting on the same message you heard from Vaughn and Diminis just earlier, the fact that while we're not in the direct path of Irma anymore, we are certainly not out of the woods yet. The prospect of what this storm can bring, not only those high winds here in the Columbia area stretching to, but also the prospect of some pretty powerful storm surge across most of the coast. Now, state officials say that really could come for the southern part of South Carolina's coast, where already mandatory evacuations are in place for several barrier islands. Right now, a hurricane watch remains in place for Edisto Beach and several points south. Officials say on Monday it's possible that some areas could see a storm surge of up to 6 feet above normal dry ground. That's why the governor would really renew his calls today for people on those barrier islands, the ones near Jasper, Beaufort, and Colleton counties, to obey that mandatory evacuation and leave now. Now, at this point, it's not clear if any more evacuations will be needed, but several state agencies say they are ready to go if that changes.
At this time, there was not a need for the lane reversal, but we are on site and standing by should that situation change.
Right now, we're hoping for the best and preparing for the worst. And the hurricane seems to be going away from us, but that doesn't mean it's going to keep going away. So we have to be vigilant.
The governor would also call on people to prepare for high winds here in the Columbia area on Monday. At this point, state DOT says a lot of people have already taken to South Carolina roads, come through the state to escape the path of Irma. The good news today is that traffic on a lot of major highways, I-95 and others, moving along at a good clip. The governor also said the supply of gas across South Carolina, which you of course know motorists are going to need to get out of the path of the storm, is still in good shape. Emily?
Well, that's good to hear. Thanks for that, Mike. Meanwhile, Irma is expected to make landfall in Florida tomorrow after crushing Cuba's northern coastline today. Florida Governor Rick Scott is urging residents who did not or could not evacuate in time to take shelter at the storm or as the storm moves towards Florida. The governor says nearly 50,000 Floridians have already moved to hundreds of shelters across the state.
Once the storm starts, law enforcement cannot save you. If you're in an evacuation zone, I hope you will go right this minute. Get to a safe place. This is a catastrophic storm. We've never seen this before. It's bigger than our state.
More than 5.6 million people have been ordered to evacuate as Florida's coast faces massive storm surges, fierce flooding, and deadly winds. Irma is expected to gain strength over the next several hours before making landfall. Here at home, we know many of you still have questions about the preparations you need to make for the storm. South Carolina now has a toll-free hotline where you can call to get information 24 hours a day. Here's that number, 1-866-246-0133. Again, that's 1-866-246-0133. The line will be open as long as the state thinks it's necessary. And state emergency officials also want to alert those evacuating the South Carolina coast of the evacuation shelters that are now open across the state. Right now, 3 shelters are open for evacuees. 2 are in the Low Country in Colleton County Middle School and the Ridgeland High Junior Elementary Complex in Jasper County. Here in the Midlands, Dent Middle School has been open for evacuees. Officials say more shelters will be open based on the needs. Turning to other headlines this evening, new at 6, Richland County officials have identified a teenager killed during a home invasion at an apartment complex Friday. Officials say 16-year-old Ty Hoven Benson of Columbia died from a stab wound to the chest after they say he and another man kicked in the door to an apartment Friday afternoon around noon. 19-year-old Melvin Strong, the other man involved in the home invasion, has been charged with second-degree burglary and malicious injury to real property. Coming up on the news at 6, we continue to track the tropics as Hurricane Irma prepares to make landfall in Florida this weekend. A full look at the potential impacts from the storm here at home when we come back.